Welcome, my 129 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit, and everyone who loves bleeding just as much as John Moxley. Welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite Quake at the Lake, August 10, 2022. Let's begin. Okay, so the first match is Darby Allin versus Brody King. Okay, so I watched the Fight broadcast. Like, I'm subscribed to the AEW thing on Fight. And for this one, the match was cut all the way to when Brody King was bleeding, kicking Darby's ass outside. I didn't get to see the Avalanche Code Red, the part where Darby made Brody bleed, and like basically the whole start of the match. It was cut pretty much in like maybe a third of the match was cut. So I was planning to torrent the whole show because of this fuck up. But like after another day, they posted the whole thing like unblemished, so I got to watch it without torrenting anything. So yeah, this match was pretty much like a car crash. There wasn't really like much like traditional wrestling stuff. There wasn't many like lockups, wristwatches, even scoop slams, or like there was barely any submissions. There was a fair amount of like weapon hits and also like the overused AEW blackouts and like some interferences that leads to the ending. And we also get some storyline progression with like Sting and Malachi Black as they're in the match as well. It's no DQ after all. So yeah, the match starts with actually Darby in control. Like the whole part that was cut was Darby Allin like just using weapons on Brody King, like making him bleed, like with that skateboard of his, with the thumbtacks on the bottom. And the visual of the blood on Brody King's face paint was really good. Like just like really like concentrated red on like white face paint. And then after this, we get like the highest spot of the entire match, which is like a code red from like the top turnbuckle. So it's like an avalanche code red. But like Darby doesn't set him up. Like it's more of like a reactive sort of move. Darby gets on the top turnbuckle. Brody King follows. And so Darby like reacts with the avalanche code red. He doesn't set him up himself. And that's sort of how Darby like gets control. He never overpowers King. It's always like Darby's luck and like ability to like escape. But yeah, after this, it's inevitable. Brody King is the larger wrestler, so he gains control by like ramming Darby to like the barricades. And yeah, it just is all Brody King from here. And as for Brody King's like period of domination, he just like throws Darby around. He does like a senton, and then like he throws him from the other side of the barricade. And that's when he gets the table. He sets Darby up on said table, and then this is when Darby like gets some rest, like gets some relief from all the beating that he has taken. And like Darby's been thrown around, so he's been taking like fucking horrible bumps. So yeah, the match swings momentarily when like Brody King like just like jumps on a fucking table. Darby escapes and then Brody King just like lands on a table. He jumps from like the top turnbuckle to the outside, like, and Brody just goes through it. So pretty much Darby like regains control only due to like luck basically. Basically his ability to like get away. He didn't really like overpower, he didn't look stronger than Brody King. It's just like wit from Darby or like instinct and stuff. And I also want to point out the selling in the match. So yeah, all of this stuff happens to them and then it takes like a proportional amount of time for them to get up and like do stuff. Because this here, like this part where like Brody like falls on the table, it isn't really like Darby like regaining control. It's mostly like a respite for him. And then when he like slowly, like very slowly makes it back into the ring, sets up for an outside dive, like extremely slowly, like selling all of like the damage done to him. Lights go out, like for a long amount of time. And I think like everyone is done with this thing, like by now. Because like not only is it like overused by the House of Black, it was overused 3 years ago when the company started. Like it was almost like a meme. Because like even 3 years ago when the company started, like Cody Rhodes overused this thing. Like for every like debut, they kept doing this. I mean, it works if it happens like fast, but the way it's being done, like ever since, it's just like terrible. And like maybe limit this to like the House of Black and Sting. It's a part of the House of Black entrance, and I guess it works. But I think they should like speed it up, just to make it like more bearable. So yeah, lights go out, and then House of Black appears near Brody King. Like they shield Brody King, and then like Buddy enters the ring, kicks Darby's ass, throws him out, like with help from Julia Hart, who like pulls Darby's leg, giving like Buddy like time to like enter the ring and then kick his ass. He brings him out and then prepares to throw him in the coffin. But then we get like Sting's entrance into the match. He was hiding in the coffin like all this time. And I see how this can work because basically it's like a second wind if ever, because like opponent's open casket, Sting's there, helps out, prevents Darby from being put in the coffin, and then like gains momentarily control. But you could also like look at it another way, where like Sting let Darby get beaten up for like all that time. And I think they're like friends with Miro already. So it could have been just like a run in from the back. But I guess this looks cooler, and then my previous explanation made this a lot less dumb. So Malachi and Sting basically cancel each other out. They like end up staring down on the stage. And then we get the finish where Brody's about to like power slam Darby into like the coffin. But then Darby escapes. He grabs Brody King's chain. He hits him with it. And then like this like staggers the King. Gets him to like sit on like the apron, and then Darby just chokes him out. He like chokes him out with the chain in the same fashion that Brody King chokes out Darby. And so when Brody King goes to sleep, he like falls off right into the coffin, and then the door just closes by itself. Jim Ross made an awesome call here where he said it's a hole-in-one. This call here by Jim Ross made me chuckle. And yeah, this finish doesn't only give Darby the win, but it also keeps Brody King strong because it takes a chain to like take him out. He wasn't pinned. Like he doesn't get pinned by the smaller dude. It takes like weapon shots and like basically like draining him of like large amounts of blood in order to like take him out. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So honorable mention is like the senton that Brody King does while Darby is being held like on a table on the turnbuckle. He does this like usually, but this time it's like on a table, so up there but not top 3. And then number 3 is when Brody just like falls on a table. He takes himself out. He gives Darby control. Yeah, it's his mistake that gives Darby hope to like win the match. Okay, so number 2 is, which one is it? Which one am I going to place number 2? So number 2 is like the Avalanche Code Red. It's the highest impact spot of the match. And again, it's a reactive move. Darby doesn't set him up himself, so it doesn't affect like how strong Brody King looks. And then for the number 1 spot in the match, it's the finish. Like, just like the visual of like this smaller dude choking like a giant like Brody King out with a chain, like on live television. Like, how the hell did they get TBS to like air this? Because this is like pretty violent right here. Like blood is like glistening off of like this dude's white face paint. He's like being hung basically on live television, and then he falls on a coffin. So yeah, insane spot, amazing finish, and Darby is still undefeated in his special match type. So yeah, this match right here is a pay-per-view upper mid-card match. And like a TV main event. Like this could have main evented this show. It was so good. Even if it didn't have like actual like wrestling moves or like technical stuff or any like submission stuff, because it didn't need to. So yeah, very interested in this storyline right here, especially with what happens to Sting. Like people are expecting him to turn, and with Miro basically confirming that he isn't turning, that he's going against the House of Black. Like, he has like a video promo later that I'm gonna talk about, that he basically confirms that he is a good dude. So Sting might be the one to turn on Darby. And it's gonna be like a nice shake-up for Sting, but I wonder what he's gonna wear. He might be like the Seer from Vikings, and it's gonna be awesome. Or like Bjork from The Northman. So after this, we have the obligatory Jon Moxley promo. That's like second segment of the night. So yeah, he cuts like the usual Jon Moxley promo. I think I pretty much describe this every week. So like, his delivery is like really good. It's like he's a veteran of the sport. He's been through like a company that like emphasizes promos. And yeah, it's a nice promo, but the FYI belt line kind of sucks. It's kind of like weak. And then it kind of becomes good again. A lot of New Japan callbacks. But the topic here is just simple. It's just, I will destroy you, Chris Jericho, and that's pretty much it. But then, like, after commercial break, we have Chris Jericho's side. Like, we have him reply to Mox. And it's a lot more, like, traditional. Like, it's a more traditional wrestling promo where he describes what it'll do to him. And you know this, like, video compilation of all, like, the awkward innuendos in, like, the history of wrestling. Like, one of the videos is, like, Mean Gene laughing at, like, a women's wrestler who, like, says something sexual, and, like, I think, like, one is Billy Gunn saying that I'm gonna jerk a nut in your ass, and that's, like, the stupidest lines ever. And even, like, the main eventers do this. Like, some main eventers are in that compilation, and it's so bad. Like, they don't even realize what they're saying. But here it's pretty minor. It's like, I'm gonna stretch the shit out of you. But yeah, I like this promo a lot better than I did Mox's. And Jericho basically turns into Lionheart once again. He doesn't do any of his, like, silly shit. He isn't the Painmaker. He isn't, like, the Wizard or something. He is Lionheart Chris Jericho in this promo. He, like, transforms. So yeah, after this, we have, like, a plug for House of the Dragon. And then this is followed by, like, the brackets for the Trios tournament. And it's a lot smaller than I expected. There's also, like, some pretty obvious, like, conclusions. Like, the first match is Death Triangle versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. And Death Triangle have, like, lost a couple of times. The Lucha Bros have lost feud after feud after feud. So, like, it would make sense if they win this. Pac is the champion, so this might set up a rivalry against Will Ospreay or something. And, like, pinning either dude from Aussie Open is a pretty obvious choice. Like, they've lost on AEW television before, and I expect them to lose again. And then the next match, like, it's more advertised, but it's a lot less obvious. So I'm gonna skip over the next one. So next is House of Black against the Dark Order. It's like two dark factions. Like, not AEW dark, like dudes who, like, turn off the lights a lot. So yeah, if the match happens in the dark, this is gonna get a 5 stars. And it's not even in the Tokyo Dome. But yeah, just kidding. Obviously, House of Black are gonna win, even if Hangman Page is gonna be in the Dark Order's corner. But I think it's gonna set up a feud between the two factions, or, like, just between Hangman Page and Malachi. Or, like, Buddy Matthews. Or, like, Hangman Page just goes through this entire faction, but then loses to the leader. And as for the Dark Order, they're probably gonna lose, but they're gonna get TV time, and this might just set them up for, like, something bigger in the end, if AEW manages to get, like, Bray Wyatt or something. And then for the third match, it's like the Trustbusters against the Best Friends. So after watching Rampage, like, that Brock Lesnar looking dude is gonna be portrayed really strong. He, like, beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy. But the other members are, like, too incompetent to win the match. So maybe that's how Best Friends are gonna win, and then Best Friends are gonna lose against House of Black. And then as for the hardest match to call, because I think these two teams could, I mean, they, like, this whole bracket could have been a lot bigger. Like, you could have had these, like, main teams, like, go against Cannon Fodder, just so you can showcase what they can do. But here you have basically Los Ingobernables against the Elite. And it's no question that that question mark is gonna be Kenny Omega. Like, no question, unless it's Johnny Elite. That would be pretty funny. Or like Brandon Cutler. Like, that's the only way I'll see like Ingobernables win the match. Or like Kenny and the Bucks can win by pinning Dragon Lee, and that might not affect La Facción Ingobernables too much. But yeah, like having one of these teams go out in the first round is very unfortunate. But for me, I think you should please the faction with the members that might leave for the WWE. Like, the Elite are never gonna leave unless you're Cody Rhodes. But LI, or like the House of Black, whose members have been treated well in the other company by Triple H, these guys might fucking leave. Like, for me, you have to like have Ingobernables win. And then maybe have like Death Triangle beat them in the second round. But yeah, having a big win against the Elite is like, I think, better than like actually winning the tournament. And I think having the Elite win the titles like right away is a bad choice, because it could be a more prolonged storyline. You could like play on Kenny's injuries, have like a pseudo retirement angle, like have him say that he doesn't have it anymore. Like, there's a lot of like storyline things and like a lot of good booking things you can do with this. But if you just have them win the title like right away, I think that'll suck. Like, that'll be fucking like terrible. I think you should have like maybe the House of Black win. Yeah, House of Black win, and then the Elite get back together with Hangman Page, and then they feud with House of Black for the 6-man tag team championships, the trios championships. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the bracket. Those are my predictions, and yeah, House of Black wins all the matches. And so after this, we have the tag team match between the Lucha Bros and Los Ingobernables. Like, it's a lot easier to say than La Facción Ingobernables. Like, LI is like so iconic that they even have a Japanese branch. So yeah, this match is like a tornado tag team match, so they'll be allowed to do like whatever without having the old heads get mad at the rules, like, who's the legal man? And shit like that. Why not just have this as a tornado tag team match? But yeah, this is pretty much a show stealer. And I think this should have opened the show instead of the last one. So yeah, like the last match, this one didn't have that much like wrestling holds or like wristwatches. They just go at each other like from the start. And they give these guys like 15 minutes to like blow off the feud. And it's really nice. It's a really nice change to like have such talented fucking wrestlers be given 15 minutes. Because like at the start of AEW, like that usually happened. But now they just like cut it to like 10 minutes, and who the fuck likes that? So yeah, these guys usually like work very fast. So like they work very fast here, but they don't botch. Unless you consider this like misplacement or like this like missed spot here a botch. Because like in this picture right here, like Andrade is like right there, and then Fenix just like runs across him. And while this happened, like Andrade like pulled off Penta off of the ring when he was trying to do an outside dive on Rush. But if you think about it this way, like what can like a leg pull do? Like, really? That's like minimal damage right there. And then like Rey Fenix, instead, he himself does the outside dive on both Andrade and Rush. So for me, like if you look at it one way, it's like Rey Fenix did not help his brother. But if you look at it another way, it looks more like Rey Fenix is measuring the pros and the cons here. Because if he himself goes for the outside dive, he can do one on Andrade like right away in order to like recoup like Penta being pulled off of the ring. And then if he helped Andrade, he wouldn't be able to do this. And like the net damage here is like more on Los Ingobernables. So this still makes sense. So yeah, I love that in this match, like everyone is involved. Like in rapid succession, all 4 dudes are participating in the match and like not just like sleeping outside. And then we have like one honorable mention for a spot in the match. And this isn't going to be in the top 3, it's just honorable mention because like a lot more crazy stuff is going to make it up there. So yeah, so we have like Penta setting up Rush for like their finisher. It's like the pile driver that Rey Fenix like steps on. So like Andrade pushes Penta off, and then like when Rey Fenix calls an audible, goes for a dropkick, Andrade dropkicks him out of the sky. And then this is followed by like a power slam by Rush, and then like a diving attack by Fenix that is countered and then redirected onto his brother. And then like a double pin count that's broken up. And so the heels use weapons. It's a tornado tag team match, so I guess there's no disqualification. And then we get like a weird spot where like Penta is playing up to the crowd. He's like playing up to like the Zero Miedo chants. And so he like gets the attention of Ingobernables, and then they beat his ass. And then we get like one of like the weirdest spots of the match, like in succession. Penta like rolls Andrade up, and then like he uses this to launch himself on Rush, and then he does like a midair DDT. And then like right after this, like Fenix sort of like does the Undertaker thing, where he like hand locks Andrade, and then he uses Andrade's hand as like leverage in order to like Hurricane Rana Rush. So yeah, this might be too much for me also. This might be like my old man yells at cloud moment, but it does lead to like one of the best spots of the match. I think it's my number 3. It's the like assisted splash thing that the Lucha Bros do, where like Penta sort of like rolls up Fenix the same way, and then this leads to like a splash on Andrade. And like right after this 6 spot, Fenix jumps off of Penta's shoulders in order to splash Rush. And then they close this out when like Rush and Andrade roll out of the ring for like some rest. And then like in order to answer back for like the outside dives that Andrade and Rush do to like both of the Lucha Bros a while ago, they do like a double suicide dive of their own. But for me, this is like a lot less impactful because they're like lighter dudes. But it is like one of the you get what you fucking deserve moments. Like what goes around comes around sort of moments. And so after this, we get like one of the top spots of the match, which is like a destroyer on the apron. This takes Andrade out. And then the Lucha Bros try to kill Rush by like attempting their finisher on the apron. This might be like one of the most dangerous spots, like for Fenix, if this happens. Because the dude is like gonna step on Rush's ass, and then he'll fall right on the floor and he might break something. But yeah, thankfully, Ingobernables regain control. Rush like headbutts Fenix, and then he sells in the usual Fenix overselling way. And then Andrade like ties Penta's mask on the second rope. And this is where the finish happens. Because like Rey Fenix gets beaten up in the ring like by himself. Penta is unable to help. So Rush hits him with like the straight jacket pile driver. This looks like it's gonna finish Fenix. But then the top spot of the match, like for sure, it happens, and then Penta saves Fenix from being pinned by like removing his mask. So the act of unmasking Penta has been like worn out so much. Like this always happens. Like in every feud they have. Like against the Bucks, against like everyone. They always unmask Penta. It's not special anymore. But this time he like willingly unmasks himself in order to save his brother. So this might be the last time that I'll consider this as like not a negative. This is like no question the best spot of the match. So Penta basically being helpless now without his mask. I think AEW should like make a rule about this, or else it's just gonna happen like all the time. It's pretty dumb. They should have like the mask removals be a DQ, or like Penta could just wear a mask under his mask. But yeah, the finish happens where Rush does his like lower turnbuckle dropkick, Andrade does his like hammerlock DDT, and then they win. So yeah, nice victory for Ingobernables. Hopefully they win in the Trios tournament next week. I think Dragon Lee should have shown up here. He should have like officially turned heel, because the last time we saw him, he was like clearly a babyface. And if it shows that he's like a babyface in the next show, that would be like an awesome dynamic for this faction. That like he's simply in because Rush is his brother. So yeah, let's move on to the spots of the match. And it's gonna be quick. Number 3 is the assisted splash followed by like the splash that Phoenix does on both Ingobernables. Number 2 is the Canadian Destroyer on the apron, highest impact spot of the match and should be a finisher. And then the number 1 spot in the match is where Penta saves Phoenix from being pinned by unmasking himself. So yeah, really good match. I think this is better than the first, but it's pretty close. Like, I think only the main event beats this one out. Beats both matches out, which it should. So yeah, for my rating, this is like a TV main event, pay-per-view, upper mid-card match. Similar score to the last one, but this one slightly edges that one out. But this should have opened the show. So after this, we have the Young Bucks have an encounter with the Dark Order and Hangman Page. And I like the continuity of this like encounter here with the Dark Order because they're not cool with the Bucks, but they are cool with Brandon Cutler, who shoots BTE, and the Dark Order like show up there all the time. So I like the complicated mechanics of their relationships. Like the Dark Order is like totally cool with Brandon Cutler, but not the Bucks. So yeah, what happens here is the Bucks basically saying sorry to Hangman Page and then them inviting him as like a third teammate for the Trios Championship. Like basically it's not a white piece. Basically they're admitting they're wrong, that Adam Page was right, that they should have like congratulated him and stuff. And it's like been months, he's not the champion anymore. And it's a bit too late. Like for me, it's a bit too late for this to happen. And Adam Page agrees because he rejects the Bucks. He stays with the Dark Order because they've been there for him like the entire run. And yeah, this was like a pretty emotional part of the show. And I think this is a segment of the night. Like this is soap opera for dudes at its finest. And as for the fans who like criticize this for like not being an angry dude cutting a promo, like not being MJF, and this isn't even like a promo. It's like a backstage encounter. It's like people talking. And you can't have like everyone be angry and passionate cutting a promo at the screen all the time. So yeah, I don't understand all of the criticism for this backstage segment right here. It like works very much, and then Hangman Page is pretty over with the crowd. Like whenever he comes out, it's always a pop. And don't you fucking deny it. So yeah, Adam Page rejects the Bucks, leaving the third spot of their team for the Trios tournament for Kenny Omega. Like, Tony Khan basically spoiled this for everyone. So yeah, again, segment of the night. So after this, we have Luchasaurus against Anthony Henry with JD Drake at ringside. And this is like basically a squash match. Anthony Henry gets some offense off, like just an enziguri, and then he gets taken out. He gets taken out with like a reverse fireman's carry slam. Or like in Shut Your Mouth, this is the fireman's carry slam. It's basically like a reversed attitude adjustment. So yeah, Luchasaurus wins, and then Christian appears on the Titantron and says a lot of words, but really says nothing. And I like that Jungle Boy is like making comments about this, like where is that? He's gonna go right to Christian. And then we see Christian like looking off to his left, checking if Jungle Boy's there. He tries to improvise. He basically says nothing again. And then Jungle Boy gets there. They beat the shit out of the guards. And Luchasaurus like headbutts Pat Buck. And this basically stops them. It gives Christian time to escape. But Jungle Boy is in hot pursuit. So yeah, this would have been better if Christian had something better to say. But this is like a pretty bad segment right here. And the match is like not that high up too. Like Christian was a lot better when Jungle Boy wasn't around. Because like after Jungle Boy called him a pussy, he's basically been toothless. Like he couldn't say anything like effective anymore. Yeah, it's like night and day. So yeah, so this segment is not very good. And obviously will not make it to like top segment of the night. So after this, we have like the Miro backstage promo that I talked about. It's basically him cutting a promo backstage in a dark room like he usually does, but this one like is less edited and looks a lot more natural, so I like it more. And then to push this even further, like to like maybe number 2 for now, Julia Hart appears and then tries to like bring Miro to their side. But then Miro says the line of the night, which could open up like a CJ Perry or like Lana debut. And he says, "There's only one woman who can touch the Redeemer, and it's not you." Confirming that he is 100% babyface in this whole program. So yeah, we'll probably see him with Sting and Darby, and then Sting turns on them. Like, that would be the most likely thing to happen and the most shocking thing to happen. So yeah. Number 2 segment of the night so far. So after this, we get... You know what? This is more of a factory segment than a Will Hobbs segment. Because Will Hobbs doesn't say anything. Like, even if he's a very good promo, most of this is like QT Marshall talking. It's like QT Marshall, Anthony Ogogo, Aaron Solo, who has a match against Ricky Starks, Cole Carter, who's good in the ring but like not a very good promo, and Nick Comoroto, who's looking fucking sharp in his new outfit. And Hobbs just says, "Don't let your problem become mine," which kind of doesn't make sense because Ricky Starks is after him. So that's his problem. So yeah, this sets up for Aaron Solo's match against Ricky Starks, which ends up being alright. It's serviceable. But I like that this gives time. It gives like TV time for the factory. Underrated faction. They don't get a lot of shine like later in the match with Ricky Starks. Like Aaron Solo looks pretty like okay. Nick Comoroto like looked the weakest that he did in a long time. But that's like the most TV time that they're gonna get. So yeah, nice segment. But it's not really a Will Hobbs segment. So yeah, after this is Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt cutting a promo in the ring. So like mostly Sanjay Dutt. Satnam Singh is just like standing around, looking menacing, but Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal, again, they carry everything. They deliver good promos, but Sanjay Dutt just like hits a grand slam with this one. He like mocks Wardlow's taunt. Like the way he talks is very funny and very like annoying, and like you want him to get beaten up. And sadly here, something dumb happens because when Wardlow shows up, he accepts the challenge, but then he tries to take them on himself. And then like before he gets to the ring, before he's made to look weak again, FTR show up, and then all of them go to the ring, and then yeah, like one of the dumbest things happen, and it's like Jay Lethal entering the ring by himself to blindside Wardlow, who has like the best tag team in the world flanking him. So they like kick his ass, throw him out of the ring, makes Jay Lethal look weak, and that's pretty much the only bad thing of this whole segment right here. If it wasn't for this, this would have been like number 2, but for now it's like number 3 so far. Sanjay Dutt was amazing, and FTR plus Wardlow is just like fucking gold. So yeah, they stand tall, raising their championships, looking strong. So after this is the number 2 segment of the night. It pushes down everything else, but doesn't beat out the Bucks and Hangman Page. This is JAS with 2.0, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker with Daniel Garcia and Anna Jay. And if we like rank them by their performances, number 1, Matt Menard, of course, best accent in all of the company, and like might be the best promo guy in the entire faction. And that includes Chris Jericho. Number 2 is Anna Jay. She just like chokes people out in like comedic fashion. Number 3 is like Angelo Parker. He's like the bass kind of dude. He's found his own in like his promos. He's not very over the top. And then number 4 is Daniel Garcia, who has his own thing now. He's like a Dragon Slayer, but he still feels like a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. And it's sort of hinted on Rampage, which I don't know if I'll review or not yet. So yeah, this is very entertaining. It's just like all of them doing their thing and Anna Jay choking out a woman this time. So this is number 2 segment of the night. So after this is Aaron Solo versus Ricky Starks in a singles match. And we get like a video package before this of like Aaron Solo and the Factory like trying to invite Starks in the faction. It shows them as like a tag team before AEW. And I like the fleshing out of Aaron Solo's character. But we know nothing's gonna happen with him. Like with the entire QT Marshall faction. Like I don't think anything's gonna happen with any of these guys until they move out of the Factory. But yeah, Ricky Starks really good in this video package here. And Aaron Solo is elevated because of this interaction. And then as for the match itself, it's like pretty basic. Aaron Solo manages to get like some control of the match. He's not like completely jobbed out. He gets some control, like I said, but like the moves he does is like super basic. It's like super regular wrestler. And Cole Carter looks like a goon because he like visibly grabs Ricky Starks' leg like in front of Paul Turner. So like he's thrown out. Cole Carter looked the dumbest out of everyone here. But when the match becomes like even again, Aaron Solo gets more of a chance to show us what he can do in the ring. And he's actually pretty alright. He does a Hurricane Rana followed by like a spinning kick that he misses, which opens him up for like the spear for the win. So for spots of the match, it's the finish. That's the only one. And so after the match, Nick Comoroto like runs into the ring with his like less threatening facial hair. And then Starks just like spine busters him. He tries to hit him with a Rochambeau, but then Aaron Solo like grabs Starks. He manages to save Nick Comoroto's ass. He sets him up for a chair shot, but Starks manages to like slip away and then escape with like all of the Factory chasing him. So yeah, I guess this doesn't make Comoroto look any worse. It just makes him look incompetent because Starks had like hours to plan for his attack. He was like incredibly slow in getting in the ring. And it's more of like Aaron Solo's fuck up that cost the Factory this whole encounter. So after this, we cut to backstage and then Powerhouse is pissed and he destroys a TV set. So yeah, it's nice to have the Factory on TV, but I don't think like they're gonna go up from here yet. There's still gonna be the lower card goons of like QT Marshall until they like change factions or leader. So yeah, after this we get a backstage segment with Billy Gunn and his sons. And it's basically like him trashing on them, calling them disappointments after losing to the Acclaimed in like a dumpster match that apparently Billy Gunn made famous. So yeah, he's pissed at the Ass Boys, and then he sets them up in a match against Danhausen and Eric Redbeard, so like Beardhausen. And this is gonna be on Rampage. So like after watching Rampage, Ass Boys win, but Billy Gunn is still pissed and he's gonna book them in a match on Dynamite next week. But in this segment, as well as the Rampage match, Stokely Hathaway shows up and then recruits the Ass Boys. Billy Gunn doesn't take too kindly to this, and then he drives Stokely away. But it's clear that since Stokely Hathaway is being like persistent, he's showing up to their matches like consistently, showing up to their segments consistently, that eventually the Ass Boys are gonna turn on their dad and are gonna join Ethan Page and Lee Moriarty. And whatever happens here, like even if they stay with Billy Gunn or if they join Stokely Hathaway, I think it's gonna work. I think the Ass Boys can make it work. So yeah, this segment is pretty okay. It's like number 5 of the entire show. So after this is the Best Friends encounter with Ari Daivari and the Trustbusters. So we have Brock Jr. and like this weirdo with like the upside down visor. So it's gonna be like the first round of like the trios tournament. I think the Trustbusters are gonna lose because there are a lot more like incompetence in their team. Sonny Kiss joins the Trustbusters. Like finally we get more Sonny Kiss. But really like the team gravitates around Brock Jr. Kiss and like the other dude are like snotlings to Brock Jr.'s ogre. They got the upper hand on the Best Friends, but I think like eventually the Best Friends are gonna win out. And then it's gonna take for like a year to push Brock Jr. Like for me, it's not the right time yet. Like Wardlow just became like this powerhouse dude, and if they like add another guy like on top of Powerhouse Hobbs, this is gonna become the WWE. So yeah, okay segment, not the best. It just introduces the Trustbusters. But yeah, I don't think much is gonna happen with this storyline. It's just they're gonna lose against the best friends at the Trios tournament. So after this, we have Jade Cargill versus Madison Rayne for the TBS Championship. And you know what? Like, it's kind of surprising because Jade Cargill, for me, carries this match. Like, she dominates most of it, like she does usually in her matches, but her stuff doesn't look clunky anymore. She delivers amazing bro kicks. That might be like my favorite part of the match. And like her selling is like a lot more consistent here. So Jade's offense looks a lot better than Rain, but a lot of credit has to go to Madison because of her selling. But her offense just doesn't look very good. And I think it's maybe because of like Jade's height. Madison had a bit of trouble doing her moves on Jade. Like, for example, like this could have been like number one spot of the match, but Jade's sell was a bit late. But Jade does redeem herself with like a nice DDT sell where she does a headstand. As for the finish of the match, it was a bit shit because Jade tries to bro kick Madison Rayne, but she hits Kiera Hogan, quote unquote hits, because Hogan like leaves the apron right before Jade hits her. And this is like very obvious. So yeah, Jade made the match watchable. I heard it drew ratings, but the match itself was like garbage. And that ending was like just a cherry on top. But yeah, Jade did make it watchable. And she is improving, but slowly. So yeah, matches like TV undercard or like dark quality. It was a bad match, but Jade's appeal is just her appearance and not her work in the ring. So if we base the match on like appearance, it's 5 stars. It's like a pay-per-view main event only. But all kidding aside, Jade is getting better. But she's no Tessa Blanchard, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, or like Jordan Grace. Or like a Shuri Kondo. Not even fucking close. And yeah, Athena shows up. Just give her the belt already. So after this, we have the setup to the rematch between Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. Basically, it's both of them declaring that they'll still be friends, even if Toni Storm is gunning for the title. And it's pretty simple. It does its job. Thunder Rosa is like alright at talking, while Toni Storm is like a bit better. If she just removes the Alabama Slam from her arsenal and like maybe wrestles in a more entertaining fashion, then I think she should get the women's title. But as of now, no way. So yeah, alright segment, but it's like right at the middle. Okay, so for the main event, we have Jon Moxley versus Lionheart Chris Jericho in a match for the interim AEW World Championship. And looking at the clock for this one, entrances start at about an hour and 19. The match like officially starts at like an hour and 22. So like from the looks of it, like even before the match started, it looked like it was gonna go like 20 minutes, 20 plus minutes. And I can't remember the last match that was like 20 minutes long. Like the last match, that was obviously like an hour long. It was like the Blood and Guts match, but that doesn't count because this is singles and it went for 20 minutes. I think the last one was when Danielson faced Page. But yeah, this was a long effing match. But this time, in a Moxley match, just like the Konosuke match, it was very, very like entertaining. There wasn't much plodding around. They didn't just like lie down on the floor and did nothing. The striking could have been better. There was like a lot to be desired from the striking. The striking just seemed a bit too soft. But like the actual wrestling part was very good. And I think the use of blood here, especially like from Mox's ear and then later from Jericho's head, elevated the match even more. So yeah, the match starts out as like more of a technical wrestling match. Chris Jericho managed to channel his like Lionheart self. He did a lot of like those weird holds that looked pretty cool, like all throughout the match, as well as like some avalanche moves, like a springboard drop kick, like an opponent on the top turnbuckle. And then like another one of those failed, and then Jericho just like fell out of the ring. Yeah, Chris Jericho managed to turn back the clock. He wasn't as fast as he was back in the day, but it's as good as you'll get Lionheart Chris Jericho as you'll get today. Chris Jericho here was, I think, the MVP of the match. He like dominated most of it, like maybe 70%. And Mox got a lot more offense like by the end. So yeah, like I said, the match started out as like a technical wrestling match. We then get the spot where Jericho takes off Moxley's earring, and then his ear starts bleeding. And then from this point on, Mox is just like covered with ear blood. And then we got like a blast from the past. Jericho did this like backbreaker thing that he does, or that he used to do, where it sets up like a tiger bomb, and then just Jericho turns Mox to his side and then makes him land on his knee. And then the lion salt that Chris Jericho does actually doesn't miss. They had like pretty much zero botches, except like the codebreaker one. It doesn't look like it does back in the day, where like Chris Jericho actually uses both legs. He takes the bump this way as his opponent is like jumping off the top turnbuckle. It's more of like a worse version of the codebreaker that he did in New Japan. It's like one-legged and not that visually pleasing. But he did redeem himself with like an avalanche hurricanrana, and it actually didn't look bad. So like both legs on Mox's head, and then it's done in a speed that is suited for a heavyweight. And then I like that the selling is very consistent, because we get like one of the spots of the match, which is like a Walls of Jericho that like takes about 3 to 4 minutes. And then after Mox somehow gets away, Jericho thinks he's won. Then in order to get like some relief time, some rest, he counters this thing where Jericho like springboards off of the ropes and then tries to drop kick his opponent while on the apron. But then Chris Jericho just like falls out of the ring. It was a pretty nasty bump, and I was surprised that like Jericho actually did this. And yeah, as for Moxley, it's like he's a bit too safe in the ring. He doesn't drive in his strikes. He does this like flying sledge, like double axe handle move, but he doesn't maintain the double axe handle like stance with his hands. And it looks like he just jumped on Jericho. And then he didn't really like get much control until the end. He mostly sold well during the match, but as for his offense, for the strikes, as for someone who's like known to be like a ferocious like deathmatch wrestler, it certainly didn't look like it. He should have like given it more to Jericho. And Jericho's strikes weren't much better. They were also a bit safe, a bit WWE-like, but it doesn't really like take away majorly from the match. The drama was still there. And whenever he did the holds, they were all drama-filled and action-packed. I think everyone will agree with me that all of us were very invested in the match, especially during that like 3-minute Waltz of Jericho. That, according to like a YouTuber named Suplex, that on TBS, like it literally like started before the commercial, it happened within the commercial, and then kept going after the commercial. He was locked in for like a pretty long time. And then we get this weird spot where Jericho like removes the turnbuckles. He removes like half of the turnbuckles in the ring, like the ones opposite to the hard cam. And then this gets Aubrey Edwards to like set them up again. Sammy Guevara overshoots throwing the bat, like falls out of the ring, and then it takes Aubrey Edwards like a considerably long time in order to like not see the bat hit. But yeah, this was a bit awkward. Jericho had to like go back outside and then hit Moxley as Aubrey Edwards is like going across. But I guess the bat is hidden because it's like it spans Jericho's like chest and arm, so I guess it's hidden like that. Aubrey Edwards wasn't looking directly at it, and I think like she was further away from them enough that she won't notice the hit. And that is sort of the stance that Jericho takes when he does the Judas effect. So it kind of works like that. Instead of a bat hit, Aubrey Edwards thinks it's a Judas effect. Jericho goes for the pin and then Mox kicks out. And then like right after this, Jericho goes for an actual Judas effect and then hits it. Then after that, commentary sells that nobody is ever kicked out of this, and then Mox kicks out of it. I think he's the first one. I don't remember. But it's a pretty big deal. So I guess good for Mox. And then the ending happens, which was awesome. I love the ending to this because like Jericho's pissed. He grabs like the title belt. He tries to hit Mox with it, but Mox like dodges and then pushes him towards like an exposed turnbuckle. This causes Jericho to be like cut the hard way, I think, because I didn't see him blade. There's also like a visible fucking cut, and you can see it as he's doing like a lion tamer. Like there's a visible like flow of blood from his forehead going down his nose, going down his mouth. So this is one of the most realistic like hard blade jobs or like hard cut jobs that I've seen. And so Mox like uses his head, uses all of his like body, his core in order to like get behind Jericho. Like he's now like behind him, on top of him, and then he like forearms the shit out of Jericho's like nape like multiple times, Blackpool Combat Club style. Then he gets a rear naked choke that makes Chris Jericho tap out. So yeah, Mox retains, and then Chris Jericho's fucking cut does not look pretty. Commentators said it happened during like the hit on the top turnbuckle that's exposed. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't see the blade job, so I guess he actually crashed on that and caused the cut. Which is a pretty badass thing to do. Like, it didn't need to happen, but it certainly made this match better, and I think it's the best match of the show. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So for number 3, it's the Avalanche Hurricane Rana that Chris Jericho does. They are both on the same page, and this looks super good. Like, it looks super smooth. It doesn't look awkward like it usually does with other opponents. Mox and Jericho managed to like make Jericho look younger with this spot. And then for the number 2 spot, it has to be the finish. The finish was really cool. The blood really added into it. I love Mox countering the Lion Tamer and then putting on like a submission, but the submission itself I don't really like. I mean, it's not the Bulldog choke. It should be a Bulldog choke. It should be like one of like Moxley's like signature moves, and not just like like a rear naked choke that's used to take out like what do you call this? That's used to take out like lower card guys. And then for the number 1 spot in the match, it's the Walls of Jericho that like lasts for 3 minutes, that like goes over commercial according to the TBS watchers, according to the YouTuber Suplex. And yeah, this happens for like such a long time, and then Mox just consistently sells after this point. So yeah, this match is a pay-per-view main event level match. It shouldn't be on TV. It's so good. And yeah, they don't botch, and then Chris Jericho manages to like transform into the Lionheart after a long time for just like one more show. Yeah, Chris Jericho's the MVP of the match. Moxley, I think, kind of got carried, and he should have done a lot more things. Yeah, he's still interim AEW champion. So after the match, JAS enter, so that's like Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara. They kick Mox's ass, they like step all over him, but then Eddie Kingston and the Blackpool Combat Club come to help, as well as Ortiz, but they get overpowered. Mox gets set up by like Daddy Magic and Chris Jericho to be like hit with the title belt, but then CM Punk's music hits, and then he enters the ring, saves all of their asses. He doesn't even interact with like Eddie Kingston. He just like runs through Cool Hand Ange. He runs through Daniel Garcia. He throws Sammy Guevara into the steel steps. He like throws Jake Hager out of the ring, and then he clotheslines Chris Jericho out of the ring. And then conveniently, BCC and Eddie Kingston like leave the ring, leaving Jon Moxley and CM Punk in the ring having a stare down. Probably the next match for the AEW Championship. And it's gonna happen at All Out. That's my prediction. It's pretty obvious. And for me, CM Punk has to win, so that he'll finally have that feud with MJF where he drops the belt to him. So yeah, Mox sort of like blows off CM Punk. He doesn't thank him for saving him. He celebrates with Claudio outside. And then like they leave, leaving CM Punk in the ring. So he gets all the cheers from the Minnesota crowd. It's actually like a pretty prolonged celebration. He does his sitting thing in the middle of the ring. He like goes around like signals to the fans and stuff. It's really prolonged, like almost obnoxiously so. Why not just like use the remaining 9 minutes in the TV show to just like cut a promo or something? I think they ended Dynamite too early. So yeah, show ends at 1 hour and 51 minutes, 19 seconds with CM Punk in the ring celebrating. So yeah, this was a really good Dynamite. These are my match rankings, and holy shit, like I can't believe this didn't hit like a million viewers. Like, this was like primed to be it. Like, we had a 20-minute match in the show. Like, we had consistently good matches. We had actually like Jade Cargill carrying a match for once. And yeah, it's unfortunate that they didn't hit a million viewers for this one. It's even a special dynamite, but like I said, if you have these like special dynamites like all the time, every other week, it loses its value and then it becomes just another like dynamite. So yeah, again, these are my match rankings. And the next review that I'll do is probably the TNA show. It's the Impact Emergence one. And yeah, tune in for that. And I guess that's it. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you do not know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos. And please, watch my shit.